Hello, welcome to Drinking with Comics. I'm Shawn,
And I'm Mike.
and we're going to do something today. So Mike actually approached me about this, and talking about some older series that are worth reading, and I really feel like this is kind of like we could call this "What should I read on Marvel Unlimited?" Now, you don't have to read this on Marvel Unlimited. You can go and pick up the trade paperback, which I believe is how Mike read this. You can go find the
Yes.
back issues. I read this as it came out for 6 months in 2021. This is Mike. This is your pick. What is this? What are we talking about today?
So we are doing a book that I really enjoyed last year, which was Marvel's Dark Ages. Um, it was something I just kind of happened to look at and wasn't even paying. I don't really pay attention to solicitations anymore, sadly
Hmm.
enough. So when I kind of which I kind of enjoy because it's not part of my job at the comic book store. I put out stuff and I barely keep up with what's going on. So it's kind of fun when I look in the shelf and go like, oh, wow, that looks kind of neat.
That makes
And this is
sense.
one, I can't remember if it was issue one or issue two, where I just kind of picked it up and was like, oh, wow, this is a different take on, kind of flowing through it, seeing like Spider-Man rushing to his wife's aid and then seeing at the end that, spoiler, that wife lived, daughter lived, everyone lived, and I was kind of like, well, that sounds interesting. It's a story where Peter Parker isn't getting crapped on all the time.
Yeah.
So I picked it up, read it, loved it, and continued throughout the whole series, obviously, and bought the trade when it came out, which is, you know, according to me, like that's a good sign of a good book.
Yeah. I would agree. Now wait, before we continue. So you are drinking. What are you drinking?
I am drinking the fancy, ever so fancy Negro Modelo
Great
from the
beer.
unknown brand called Modelo. I don't think
Great beer.
anyone's really heard of it.
I don't like regular Modelo so much, but I've always felt like Negro
Yes,
Modelo is like it's like a German beer that just happens to come from Mexico. Like it
yeah,
is just delicious. It's so good.
it's a solid. If I see it in a restaurant, I'll get it. Like especially a Mexican restaurant, but even
Yeah.
like. I mean, not to get like super politics, it's just weird that Modelo's like the number one beer brand now.
Really? I
I don't
didn't
know if
know.
you've heard that. Yeah.
Haven't
Um,
heard that.
recent things with Bud Light have kind of recent political things and dumb bullshit like that made knocked Bud Light off the top of the list, and
But
Modelo
funny,
became the
its lack of flavor and quality couldn't do it, but politics could. Well,
yes, 100%.
it's good. It's good that
And
a
like
good beer, a foreign beer, is
yes,
at the top of the pops. Then,
um, yeah, I actually went to like a party once and like expected a keg of Bud Light and had a keg of Modelo, and I was just delighted. Like I'm at a party with a keg, I don't have to be sick.
yes, yeah.
And it was funny because they're all like talking like, "Have you tried this? This is like the new exciting beer." I'm like, "Dude, I've been drinking this for like
It's
years. You know,
been around for decades.
this isn't even the good one. Yeah, this is just
Oh,
regular. Try the dark. This and Guinness and Sam Adams, they're good standard beers. You know,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
um,
Most restaurants will have them.
all I have in the house right now. So this is why I went with it.
Right on. All right,
Yeah.
so let's talk Dark Ages. So this is written by
Yes.
Tom Taylor, drawn by Ivan Coelho, and colored by Brian Reber. Letters by VC's Joe Sabino. Uh, Cover artist was, well, I mean, they had a bunch of variants. Most of mine were the standard, even Ivan Coelho. I think I said his name wrong the first time. Ivan
Yeah.
Coelho. I did get one Peach Momoko that I thought was really fantastic. Otherwise, I just went with the A covers. I thought they were all just absolutely gorgeous. I love this man's art. It
Yeah.
it really. I love this book, man. I'm so glad you picked it.
Yeah. Thanks. I'm glad you read it and liked it too. It's just a weird, I don't know, weird, fun post-apocalyptic story that's not all dark gloom and getting your head bashed in with a baseball bat.
Right, and but there is, so here's the
Um,
thing too.
I like,
There is a
yeah,
lot of that. Like
yeah,
like I love the scene
There
where
is, but it's not the focus.
it's not the focus, but they're not afraid to. I mean, so also this isn't 616. This is actually Earth TRN 891, whatever the fuck that is. I believe it was probably devised for this story. But if you're
Where'd you
keeping
get
track,
that at?
so I wanted to look up the Unmaker, who is he's not really in the book, but he's the catalyst for the whole story. And
Yeah.
his first appearance was this, and his first appearance and his death were both in Dark Ages #1. Funny thing, so I looked on Marvel's fandom so it's marvel.fandom.com. It's like a wiki for all things Marvel. And the funny thing is, you look him up, it says marital status single. That was fucking hysterical.
I mean, there's not Mrs. Unmaker. That makes me sad.
I know, right? Well, no wonder. I mean, he's the Unmaker. He's lonely. So basically, he is a creature, a giant, almost celestial-like creature that threatens the Earth. And in order to beat him, open like a wormhole and set off an EMP. But then Doctor Strange dies and leaves it open, so the EMP like never ceases to act.
They sent that team of Vision, Wanda,
Strange.
was it Ben Grimm? Ben Grimm, just so they had someone, so somebody needed punching, they had Ben Grimm there.
Yeah.
Doctor Strange and the Visible Woman, and he slaughtered them.
Yeah, he did.
It was brutal.
Only Sue survived.
Only Sue survived, and yeah, at that time when he opens up that portal, it's like, oh, I got this idea. I'll just quickly open up this portal, and then bam, Strange is dead, and he can't close the portal to stop the EMP from happening, which is ultimately the destruction of electricity in a world, which is apparently what we need to make a better world.
Yeah. So, and I think that's what you're talking about. I love the fact that the whole thing is like, I love this. The line is, it's both in the first and last issue. Who says a post-apocalyptic world has to be a bad thing? Forget your barren wastelands, your fashion dominated by leather and skulls, and the all-too-common problem of roving cannibals. After the fall of our civilization came something better.
Yeah.
I love that.
I love that. Yeah. Because it's such a different turn on... And the thing I hate about this book, which isn't a big hate, but, like, there's not enough of that. Like, at 6 issues, they don't really explore it enough. Like, I want to see more of, like, especially at the end where it's like, what happens next? Like, I'm left hanging. Like, and if I just gotta watch them like go like, hey, we can have electricity back, but do we want it back? Or whatever happened at the end. I would have loved to see more of that, which is a sign of a good book to me. Like, if you want wanting more,
Yeah.
But I hope they deliver it someday. Like,
it would be cool. And also it'd be cool to get a sequel that didn't have to have another massive conflict. I mean, there needs to be some kind of conflict, but
yes,
it could even just be, you've got, so the whole idea here in the first issue, when they set this up that, okay, something came better after this whole thing with the EMP, you learn that, or I guess it's in the second issue, you learn that they have, in all the cities that they bring back, they have a telepath. And so they're in constant contact with one another. They can have telepathic meetings where the greatest minds, one of them, Dr. Doom. I love Dr. Doom in this because he's still Dr. Doom, but he's like, well, no, I want a functional society. Like, he's not, he doesn't feel like he needs to rule. Like, he's there to help, right? So
I would have loved to see a scene where it was like them going up to Dr. Doom's like, hey, we could do better. And him going like, go on.
Yeah, right. Which you like, almost have that. That's the vibe, right? But it's like him and Moon Girl predominantly, and it's and Stark, and it's like they're solving all the problems, right? They're figuring out like, okay, well, we can have this and we can have this, and meanwhile, there are, because there's darkness, there are roving packs of werewolves and vampires, so they have to defend against that. But that's pretty low maintenance, for the most part. It's a plot that Apocalypse from Europe kicks off that then is the bulk of the conflict of the story, where he wants to actually go into the Unmaker's mind and take control of his power. Of course, because, he's fucking Apocalypse, right?
Yeah.
If it wasn't going to be Doom, it would be him.
I enjoyed how it ended with that, too. Like, it saddened me when I got to, like, right before the big major conflict. and you have 3 pages left.
Yeah.
It had a very much like my complaint about like another complaint about this book is like had a very rushed ending. I like to call it like a Vertigo ending because I don't know if you remember like you'd read a Vertigo book in the '90s and you'd be like, wow, this book's great. They're setting up a lot of stuff. Oh, it got canceled. You have one issue to wrap
Yeah. Yeah.
everything
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
And it felt like that a little bit. Like he had a lot more he could have done, but nope. Hey, by the way, this is only 6 issues. Tom
Well,
Taylor, you gotta finish it off.
I would say it's rushed, but it's not unsatisfying.
No, it isn't.
I didn't feel like he had to,
Everything is there.
everything is there. It's not like one of those old X-Men crossovers like the Phalanx Coven or whatever, where it's like, 12 issues or whatever of absolute, dire straits. And then in the last 3 pages of the last issue, it's like, oh, wait, if we just use his power and hers, boom, done. Strife's dead. Cool. It's one of the reasons why I hate almost all the old crossovers. Well, almost all crossovers. Yeah. I mean, it's gotten better in time, but a lot of those 90s crossovers, that's how it went.
There's still that whole in a crossover, like especially 90s or early 2000 ones, you'd get like Civil War, and he'd be like, "All right, we gotta fight the Civil War," and then you get to the end, it's like, "Oh, wait a minute, is that guy a Skrull?" Or then you get to the next next big thing, and then the next big thing. It's like they're just leading up to the next big thing. Yeah, and it didn't have this in there obviously because it's just a one and done in theory, hopefully more.
And it's an Elseworlds, whatever. Marvel doesn't call it Elseworlds, but that's what it is. Same thing, right?
Exactly. The what if?
Yeah,
what if
basically.
The world lost all its power? But yeah, like it doesn't have that like leading up to something else ending, which is fine. I don't need that. I like the ending was fine. I just wanted more. But there is like I'm enjoying this book. I'm enjoying this book. I'm enjoying this book, and then I'm like, oh look, there's only 3 pages left. How are we going to wrap this up? And they do a great job wrapping it up. Killing off, Apocalypse and then, Purple Man.
So I thought that the solution to the conflict was so fucking elegant and well done. And to the point where okay, if you're listening to you haven't read this, read it anyway. I mean, we're spoiling, it's a couple years old, but it's not about like the revelations. It's about the experience. It's just a great story with fantastic art. So we're doing full spoiler, but like Deadpool shoots Kilgrave in the fucking head and kills him. So because a lot of the heroes are under his control. So like in the penultimate battle, they go to stop Apocalypse and they realize, oh shit, we have to fight our fucking friends, right? They're all under the influence of the Purple Man. And it just made me think the Purple Man is so underused in Marvel, but the reason he's so underused, and you might have said this to me years ago after when Alias was coming out. I remember talking to somebody and being like, I forgot about this fucking character. Why does nobody use him? And I think it was you. It was like, because how do you stop him? It's so hard to stay. It's like an inherent problem. It's like Superman. I mean, obviously I'm not talking about strength wise, but like it's you write yourself into a fucking corner if you have him, because how do you beat him, right? Deadpool shoots him in the fucking head.
Yeah.
And but then why are all the characters like Wade? Like even Jessica Jones was like Wade, like, and I love his line where he's like, "Oh, I probably robbed you of some catharsis. You want to kick his corpse a little bit or something?"
Yeah.
I often don't have very much patience for Deadpool, but he's adequately used here, sparingly used, and really well done when he's used.
And I love the page before that, when we're talking about all the superheroes, Kilgrave controls a bunch of other heroes, and the uncontrolled heroes have to go fight him. It's a 2-page panel, like a 2-page spread of this big epic battle that comes on, and then you turn the page and it's just bang, Kilgrave getting shot in the head.
Yep. Oh, it's so good. It's
like you think it's something big's happening, like bam, it's over.
I agree.
And you're just kind of like, oh wow. And it's like it ended it quickly, but at the same time it ended it perfectly.
Yeah, well said.
And let's talk about them like killing Apocalypse. Like,
so that I especially thought was really well done.
Yeah. it was like, oh, here's what we can do, and I like that was Doom's plan. Like the two people who saved this universe was Deadpool and Doom.
Yeah.
Because if the heroes with their plan, it would have been the like, oh, we're gonna let them live and we'll lock them up and everything will be fine because we're good guys and we don't have to do that. No, it's just like Doom and Deadpool show up, fight's over, we all go run off in the sunset.
So Sue Richards also plays a very pivotal role, and she was kind of
Yes.
out for blood. I think she was out for blood regardless. So I liked that.
Now, is Apocalypse immortal? I'm not that big of an X-Men fan. He
I
can't be
don't,
killed normally,
I don't
right?
fucking know. Yes, I guess so. Who were your favorite? Like, I love all the designs in this. They're not all like redesigns exactly, but you know, Mr. Coelho does his own thing with a lot of them. Who were your favorites visually?
Visually, which was only one panel, I really liked Miles Morales as Venom. And it was just this nice, slick black, Venom costume with a hoodie on it. And I thought
Yeah,
that was really kind of cool. It's just one panel. I love the Ghost Raiders. And I like the little things like Spider-Man's kind of steampunky web shooters and how they all had to like kind of come up with new forms of electricity. Not per se electricity, but new forms to get by.
yeah.
Uh, no, I probably would have liked more leather and skulls, but I get that that's not what this story's about.
I love I love Spider-Man. I mean, he's a
Yeah,
favorite character anyway, but I loved his suit, like you said, where the whole thing has a minor steampunk feel. Like Pepper at one point has like the Iron Man war machine kind of whatever it is, armor.
yeah, it's got like a furnace on the back of it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it's very steampunk.
yeah.
I loved Apocalypse. Like the first time you see him, and it's one of the things I noticed about Coelho's art is he shoots he draws like he's shooting with a camera a lot, and so there's these angles that really like accentuate certain aspects of the characters. And so the first time we see Apocalypse, it's at kind of an upward angle, and he's just stunning.
His art's amazing. It reminds me a lot. His art reminds me a lot of Mark Bagley's art from Ultimate
Yes,
Spider-Man,
yeah,
which is one of my favorite book runs. Not simply because like it had captured. It's like Steve Dillon on Preacher, and all those other Garth Ennis things where it's just like that weird smile. You capture that like grin that a character
yeah,
has that you don't normally see in other things. Yeah, there's a lot of other artists that are like really cool, but you can't capture that face emotion that tells you the story. And this guy does that very well too. Mark Bagley was good at that, I feel, and so is Steve Dillon's a master at it, I think. Um, Even though their art style is very simplistic, you can just see a guy snarl and you'd be like, I get this 30-year-old war story this guy has in his head, or, like this guy's going to screw this other guy up really well because that smile tells me he knows how to kick this guy's ass, which usually in a Garth Ennis book, that's how that ends.
yeah,
And there's a
yeah.
lot of that in here too. It just remind me of, you know, you see occasional things of people smiling and stuff like that. Not necessarily like, I guess, the ass kicking sense, but just
No, just in
grins being
general.
like,
So that's
oh, or
another thing I really like about this book is I feel like Tom Taylor nails the quiet camaraderie. Like I really
yeah,
like there's just some moments that are very genuine human moments. Like there's like there's a part I forget what Gabby says in Wade is like, oh, I missed you so much, or like when they're gonna leave Devil Dinosaur and uh is it Deadpool to watch the two
oh, May,
kids, May and Danny,
yes,
and like the way that they're like kind of interacting with one another, and like somebody or right before they leave to go over to Europe for this, they're like, I forget, somebody says to like Blade or something like, be sure to like cut off Dracula. I don't know. I don't specifically remember the dialogue, but the way that they interact, you could tell these people are friends. You can tell that they've conquered adversity, which, yes, obviously that's a part of all of these heroes, every book that you read, but it doesn't always come through like this. So natural and like
yes.
friendly. So I
And
really
there's
liked
like
that.
And there's a scene like you open up with like Flame On here and the Johnny like doing a tea party.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
like in the second panel, you have that, what I'm talking about, like this great shot of
yes,
Jessica
Jessica.
Jones just kind of walking in and her face says everything.
Yep.
What happened? The next thing you see is just I'm like, what's wrong? And it's, there's no words to that. There's not a lot of artists that can portray that. I think that is, she didn't say a damn line in that page, and it said everything you needed to know.
And all the deaths all hurt, right? So, like the scene where Quicksilver comes back from his scouting mission, and they don't like nobody knows that they're dealing with the Purple Man yet, right? So when he comes back and he's under his influence, he kills a couple people, and like I really liked everything around that, like how it was briefly very violent but very real, and like even just the elements of their powers and how they interplayed, how they stop him, how John, like, well, a moment between Johnny and Sue. Like there's just stuff that
Yeah,
I don't know. It all had more gravity, all the death and all the genuine moments and what. It's just really really well done.
that is a good scene too, because you're like, oh crap, Purple Man's involved, and like, and no one blames Quicksilver when it's done.
Yep, because
Like,
they know.
they're all just like, yeah, they know, like, oh yeah, you were under his control. Don't feel bad.
I couldn't remember rereading this now as in a one burst as opposed to monthly a couple like 2 years ago, whatever. I couldn't remember. I'm like, wait a minute. So where's Logan? I know Logan's going to pop
Yes.
up, but where's Logan? I like that he's barely in this, and so
Yeah.
I love the way you just get him for like a page, and I really liked that because I'm a little maxed out on Logan right now.
And I liked how they dispensed of him.
He was there for one. He was in the story for one fucking reason.
He's buried treasure.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. It gave X-23 and Is it Badger? Is that the other
I don't
girl's
know who
name?
the fuck that Gabby character is. I know I've
Yeah,
encountered her
Gabby.
before. She's like a clone of the clone or some shit.
Yeah, she's a clone. I think she's a clone of thing, and I think her name was Badger. Someone told me once. I'm not 100% sure. Leave comments below. Correct
Yeah,
me.
leave comments below. Hey, if there's a Badger fan club or whatever the fuck her name is, okay. I've come around a little bit on X-23 because the way that they've used her in the Jerry Duggan X-Men team book that's current. Like I like, and there's like two versions of her now, which is a little bit much, but really you're just focusing on the one that aged in the vault or whatever the fuck it's called. And she's got a different name now. I can't think of what it is. She doesn't go by Wolverine, but whatever. So, but there is too many versions of this character out there, and there's too many versions of Wolverine out there. But whatever. None of it bothered me in this book. They're all used well.
Yeah, I think I liked her in this more than I've ever read anything of her before. Especially a lot of these characters. I thought she was perfect in this, just being the Wolverine of the thing without being Wolverine.
Yeah, exactly.
You need that snicked, but she wasn't. She wasn't like Wolverine. She had a little sidekick and stuff.
The best there is at what she does. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. She's not it's sitting there hitting on everybody.
It's just getting played out. But yeah, this isn't an X book, like you said. This is a very cool,
it's a Marvel book.
It's a Marvel Elseworlds, whatever. And they just use a whole smattering of characters. It doesn't matter what their affiliation or whatever, and it all works together very well.
Yes. The good congealing, good interaction with characters like Blade and X-23 hanging out together, and Luke Cage and Spider-Man hanging out together as like in a couples relationship. Yeah. Not like couples relationship, but like when you're a married couple with a kid, you hang out with another married couple with a kid because they're the only ones that kind of get that you have a kid. You kind of get the things you get together.
Yep.
And I like that that's what they are. They're the married couples with kids.
Yep.
And they hang out together. And, clearly Dr. Doom and Luna are hanging out together, talking about how great they are.
I don't really know much about her character. I know who she is and I know the deal, but I don't get to ever enjoy her in a story. So that was also cool because I really enjoyed her and Devil Dinosaur in this story. So, and Devil Dinosaur, I mean, that goes back to fucking Fallen Angels. So if you don't know what that is, look up Marvel Fallen Angels. That was an 8-issue miniseries from 84? That's a great. We should do that.
I don't think I've ever even read that. You want to do that?
We should do that. There's an element of it that's going to be dated as far as the way that it's written, because there were certain editorial edicts at that time that made, I think it's Jim Shooter was the editor-in-chief, and there was just certain things that they had to do, right? There's a Chris Claremont documentary out there that a company called, I think it's Sequence Art, put out a couple years ago. I want to say it might be on Prime, but if you watch it, they Claremont, Ann Nocenti, Louise Simonson, they talk about the kind of the editorial edicts of the time, and it's why when you read those old stories, even up into the 90s, like Infinity Gauntlet, try to read Infinity Gauntlet. It's still a story where when Wolverine shows up, it's there's always the, that's why he's the best there is at what he does, and it's seriously, why does this have to, every time the character appears, I don't need to fucking read this. But the edict was every Marvel comic should be written like it's somebody's first Marvel comic. And you know what?
Yeah.
That sucks for those of us it was our 500th Marvel comic, right? It's yeah, I don't need that. So
that was every time back in the 90s, I read everything Ghost Rider. And obviously Ghost Rider in the 90s, he would team up with various other heroes. And every time Spider-Man showed up, which was the only Spider-Man books I read for years until Ultimate Spider-Man, you'd always get Spider-Man going well, that's too dark, but I'm not that dark. And I'd just be I don't care. You sound awful.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's see.
Dark.
Who did Ghost Rider team up with in the 90s? It was the Punisher, Wolverine, Spider-Man, and Moon Knight, because who were the biggest selling, well, other than the other, Midnight Suns, right? But
yeah,
those are the characters that were in every fucking book, to the point that at some point, remember, and this would be another one we could do, there was that weird 3-issue thing in Fantastic Four in the 90s where it was the new FF, where it looked like the FF were killed, and it's Spider-Man, Wolverine, Ghost Rider, and the Joe Fixit era Hulk. It's a great story.
That Devil's Reign storyline, which I didn't even realize till I was reading halfway through, because I was there's a Ghost Rider where there's a Superior Spider-Man is Doc Ock a Spider-Man, and then there's a point where Doc Ock goes and gets he goes to others' universes to get those versions of himself, and it was halfway through the book I realized this. He gets a version of himself that's Hulk, so it's a big Hulk with 8 arms.
Oh wow!
A Ghost Rider, an Octavius Ghost Rider, where he takes over Ghost Rider's brain basically, and he's got the chains on his back and he uses them as the legs, and it's Wolverine. And at first I thought well, that's dumb. Why does he have Wolverine, Ghost Rider, and Hulk?
Okay, so Dark Ages, it's in trade.
Yes.
It's in your back issue bins, and it's on Marvel Unlimited. And it's 6 issues. It's totally worth a read. If you read it and you like it, or you read it and you hate it, leave a comment, say, hey, fuck you guys, I'll never take your advice again, or hey, thanks.
The trade does have the free comic book day bonus comic.
Oh.
Which is just a teaser of Iron Man losing his leg. And also all the covers are in the trade, including this awesome Ghost Rider one.
Nice. So until we decide on something new to read for Drinking with Comics, I'm Shawn.
And I'm Mike.
Hi, I'm Shawn. Join me and my friends every week for the Horror Vision, where we talk about horror movies.
A pandemic of violence floods the streets of major cities as cases of the media-dubbed murder virus, MV20 soar, causing those infected to go on killing sprees. Caught in the middle, police detective Angela Miller finds her only trustworthy ally in the self-proclaimed psychic PI, Gerald Henry. As the two try to navigate the violence, they are drawn into New Age guru Abramelin Harvest's plot to heal the planet. Harvest's missive?
The world is sick, and humanity is the infection.
The cure? Murder. From the twisted mind of Shawn C. Baker, author of A Collection of Desires and Shadowplay Book 1, Kim and Jesse, comes his most vicious novel yet, Murder Virus.